Hello, in today's demonstration, I'm going to show you how to make a small composition out of all of the handmade collage papers we made last time. So for this, I think it's helpful to be organized with your stashes of collage papers that you made. These are all my coffee soaked papers. I've got some stencil papers, brush papers. So I like to organize them according to type or pattern. And then I go through and I start grabbing pieces of paper that I'm drawn to that attract my attention. So I've already done that ahead of time. And what I was drawn to was the coffee stain papers. Um, and this was, I think it was a rice paper, and I kind of squeegeed across some color and this piece of paper with the ink and stick. So the first thing to do, and this probably takes the most amount of time and is probably the most important, is to kind of shuffle your papers around and make connections and associations. And I'm going to use the anchor of, I'm going to do a face. So, which I've done before. It could be a face, it could be a mask, it could be an animal face, okay? Not super realistic. And I've already got something going on here. This guy looks like maybe he's got some pock marks happening. Um, you could also do landscapes, abstract pieces, objects such as bottles. I like to keep it kind of simple. So these are all the papers that I've picked, and a very loose composition. And so my focus is going to be more on adhering these pieces of paper to a piece of Bristol paper. So when working with collage material, I want a smooth application. I don't want to see a lot of bubbles. That gets kind of annoying. So let me get started here. So I know I want this somewhere at the top. That's a little bit too big. You can cut with the scissors. I kind of like the non-fussy approach of folding and ripping. I like that rough edge. Okay, now I like it better that way. This might go at the top. Then this is a background. I don't really want that white showing, so I'm going to cut some of that out. So this is going to form the background for my face. And I think this might be like a shirt. Not much of that background is showing. I want a little bit more showing. May have to tear his face down a bit. So you know what? I think usually I have this all kind of laid out before I glue. Okay, here. There's going to be more there. I'll figure that out later. Okay, so then I have to take these pieces off. Kind of remember where they are. I'm going to start with that and then that. It can also help if it gets complicated to take photos as you go. All right, and I'm going to glue. You can use Mod Podge or regular glue. I like this heavy matte gel. It's got a little more structure to it, and it's a little bit easier to reposition, whereas Mod Podge is a little gloopier, and then you can have all this glue just going every which way, which I don't like. Okay, so I'm going to put this on with my angled palette knife. Position this piece towards the top. Okay, I spread it out with my hands, and then what I like to do is get a piece of sandwich paper and then my scraper, and I scrape across. Some of that gel will come out because I don't want to see bubbles, particularly when you're using with magazine imagery and you see bubbles. that grabs my attention in a way that I don't want. I don't want to see it. It looks kind of cheapy, unprofessional. Okay, so there's that there. Then I'm going to go to my next layer. Actually, I think I had that. What did I do? I had that further up. It often changes as I go. Got my plan and then it changes. Okay, I want more of that green color showing. This is his nose, but it could also be a hat. Okay. So I can apply to the paper, or I can also apply directly to the surface of the Bristol paper. Because this is a thinner, it's wet strength tissue paper, I'm going to apply it to the Bristol paper. I think it won't buckle quite as much. Go through that same process. And I'm going to need more glue. And I find working kind of from the middle of the paper out to smooth out those bubbles. Now it's a little bubbly here, but I'm going to go over with this guy's head. So it's not really going to show. This is going to be a shirt. I like these old book pages because they rip really easily and nicely. Okay, so maybe that goes there. Looks like a mobster. Okay. So sometimes you want a jagged edge, sometimes you want a crisp edge. And I'm wondering if I fold this down, is that going to make like a shirt collar that could be interesting? I don't know. Okay. Kind of fiddling with that. Not sure. All right, I'm going to go ahead and glue him down. Actually, I think I'll glue the nose. Like this wet strength, the way it's see-through, and I can see the lines from my ink and stick painting below. If you don't have sandwich paper, you can just use another sheet of regular paper or tracing paper, but the see-through quality is kind of nice. See where you're scraping. Okay, that looks pretty good. We'll put this right there. I'm using what's called a Bondo paint scraper. You can get a set of 3 of them at in the paint section of the hardware store for about $3. You can use a credit card too, but I like these scrapers. I like having different sizes of them. Okay, so I've got a really nice structure going. Okay, so next would be eyes. And I mean, I could come in and use these stamped circles that I made. This is helpful if you're not comfortable drawing. I tend to draw the eyeballs in, but I'm going to go with this right now as an idea in case you're like, well, I'm just really not comfortable drawing eyes. You could do something like that. Um, you could also cut out images of eyes from a magazine. Oh, what was that piece? Oh, okay, so this was this there were buttons on here, and I thought that was kind of cool for the mouth. I like that side better. Okay, we'll put that on there. And you can also scrape over some of these smaller pieces with the gel medium. I have a matte gel, so it'll dry. Um, I shouldn't really notice it. It won't detract from the image. It'll go with sort of this matte coffee paper. So I think you're getting an idea of this process. Um, Great way to come up with a structure, and then I can bring in more paint. I'll show you a little bit of that, but I wanted you to get the basic idea of composing, but mostly applying these papers in a manner that's smooth, that's not distracting. Okay, so now I'm going to come in with my China marker and add a little more detail, like maybe an ear. Who's got sideburns here? Okay, and let's see. When this is dry, if I rubbed across this surface like with a darker paint or like a pastel, I could pick up on some of those holes I punctured in the paper. I'm going to call them his pock marks. Or here's a woodless pencil. I could kind of go like that if I wanted to. Okay, I'm going to apply a little bit of paint up here. Pretend this is his hat. And show you a little bit of what could be done with paint. I actually kind of like this on his, he looks like a zipper mouth, but I'm thinking, what if this thread, this sort of threaded line was on there? Okay, I'm going to put that in there. First, I want something red in here. I could do that. I don't have red right now, but once you have your foundation, you can add on. Okay, so now paint. I'm going to go over with this burnt umber color, and I'm going to apply it kind of thick up here, like that's his hat. I'm going to do it with the palette knife. Go on there purposely thick. Down here, I'm going to do a little dry brushing to pick up the texture of that. What is that thing? It's the edge of paper, the binder paper. Okay, so I can dry brush over that to pick up that edge. Up here, I've put the paint on purposely super thick, and then I can come through like with a stick and scrape out. So I'm seeing the color below. I'm doing a little sgraffito here. Again, if I don't like it, I can glob back. I'm going to do it here too. Paint is already soaking into that paper, so I can't really do sgraffito there, but I would probably let that dry and then bring a different color in. Maybe some of this blue, maybe a red. Maybe there's a button right here. I could do a thicker blob of paint to do a button. Now I'm getting carried away. Here's a pocket. Okay, so that could be his pocket. If this was wetter, I could dry into that like stitching. Come back with maybe something red here, like a flower or a note or something. Okay, so that is it for making a face out of the collage papers we made last week, creating a composition, and then the main thing to take away is how to apply those papers with the gel medium and scraping over so that they lay flat. And you have what looks like a uniform composition that then you can add more layers to. Okay,